Yeah, this is take 2 of my director's cut. I'm actually re-recording the first few seconds of this because I realised as I started it that it'd be actually useful to have the book in front of me. So anyway, let's get into this. We'll check this as well. Boom. Okay, so I'm pretty sure at this point that I'm recapping what happened last time. Ismark and Irina are reiterating to the group that you need to be a little wary around Vistani. Because you can't fully trust them. I think I mentioned in the last session as well. Right, so I think at this point I'm describing the camp again, which I'll quickly read here. Let's pause this quickly when I get to the page. Okay, the road gradually disappears and is replaced by a twisted, muddy path through the trees. Deep ruts in the earth are evidence of the comings and goings of wagons. Oh, this is still playing, I didn't realise. The canopy of mist and branches suddenly gives way to black clouds boiling far above. There is a clearing here next to a river that widens to form a small lake several hundred feet across. 5 colourful round tents, each 10 feet in diameter, are pitched outside a ring of 4 barrel-topped wagons. A much larger tent stands near the shore of the lake, its sagging form lit from within. Near this tent, 8 unbridled horses drink from the river. The mournful strains of an accordion clash with the singing of several brightly clad figures around a bonfire. A footpath continues beyond this encampment, meandering north between the river and the forest edge. So that's just a sort of recap of the camp. And hopefully we'll switch back in a moment here. Cool. So I know at some point Sunny asks, can I see any women there? Or Xyril, I should say, asks, are there any women there? And I say yes, there are. So there's like a healthy mix of men and women. They're all wasted, revelling around the camp. Okay, I laughed there, so it's probably him asking now. Can I skip ahead in this if I can fast forward? Using arrow keys. Nope, that's unhelpful. Oh, fuck, I did not mean to do that. Okay, so we'll skip ahead here. Oh, okay, so cool, they're all moving. So I think they approach. Oh, I remember this bit. And the Vistani, as they approach, go completely quiet. And then one of them shouts, "Adventurers!" And they're all like, "Adventurers!" And they start chasing them. And they sort of call them over. And they're like, sit, drink with us. So the guys go over. So the reason Sunny's over here at this bit is because he's made a beeline for the woman, the closest woman. These two are kind of just sort of coming and joining the Vistani. They're wasted, they're merry, they're pretty happy to see these guys here. I'm pretty sure Ismark isn't impressed. Actually, at this point, yeah, I think Sunny goes over and he immediately starts flirting with the woman. So Ismark's not happy. Irina's pretty also unhappy, I'd say. Yeah, I think he's just flirting with her. Okay, and then if we jump ahead real quick, let's see if I can remember what happened here. Oh, okay, so so Sunny had like a little sort of flirt with her, and he actually did very well. So she was pretty into him. They were drinking together and getting cozy. Dom, I believe, just walked off. I think he said something to them. I can't remember what, but anyway, he walks off and he basically goes inside this tent. He actually saw a bunch of stuff. I think he saw a bunch of gold in the tent, but he decided not to take it. Oh, that was it. It was in a sack. So yeah, he decided not to take that. Probably a good idea in hindsight. And so Dan's up here. Oh, that's right. So Dan walks up here and he's basically reading the book he got from last session. This sort of, I think it was the Diary of Strahd, they thought, or journal, or whatever. The Tome of Strahd, that's it. And Ismark just follows him and he says, "I'll play this here." Ismark is just like, where are you going? It's all good. Oh, yes, that's it. So Ismark is concerned because Sunny seems to be getting quite cozy. And Ismark wasn't planning on staying here that long. He just wanted the characters to go and meet Madame Ava, basically get their fortune told, maybe, rest up a bit and then move on. He's very keen to get to Valaki. He doesn't like being here. And I think Dan reassures him. Eirril reassures him and he basically says, so that's my phone. Eirril says, like, don't worry, we won't spend too long here. And he says to Ismark, look, you keep an eye on Xyril, and yeah, we won't be too long here. Okay, so let's skip ahead for a moment. Oh, okay, yes, I remember this bit. So I believe that they start telling a story now, and Dom doesn't hear this because he's asleep, and I think we rolled and he didn't hear it through his nap. Dan heard it, Sunny heard it, these two heard it all around the camp. So basically the Vistani are all like, story, story, and they get excited, and then one of them decides to tell a story. So I'll read out the story he told. A mighty wizard came to this land over a year ago. I remember him like it was yesterday. He stood exactly where you're standing. A very charismatic man he was. I should add, as he was telling this story, he was quite drunk, so I did it with more effects. Yeah. So they were all like, I'll try and do the effects. So he thought he could rally the people of Barovia against the Devil Strahd. He stirred them with thoughts of revolt and bore them to the castle en masse. When the vampire appeared, the wizard's peasant army fled in terror. A few stood their ground and were never seen again. And all the Vistani were like, ooh. And then Xyril was like, ooh. So, the wizard and the vampire cast spells at each other. Their battle flew from the courtyards of Ravenloft to a precipice overlooking the falls. I saw the battle with my own eyes. Thunder shook the mountainside, and great rocks tumbled down upon the wizard. Yet by his magic he survived. And they were like, ooh, again. And then Xyril was also like, ooh. Lightning from the heavens struck the wizard, and again he stood his ground. But when the Devil Strahd fell upon him, the wizard's magic couldn't save him. I saw him thrown 1,000 feet to his death. I climbed down to the river to search for the wizard's body to see if, he had anything of value. But the river, Ivlis, had already spirited him away. So that was the story. I'm just going to see what my phone is saying. Nothing important. And I think at this point, Xyril's kind of distracted, but I think Eirril was kind of like, oh, this might be the wizard that was mentioned previously. So he's kind of like, is this a clue, as to where he is? Somebody, I think it would probably be Eirril, did ask the Vistani, like, what's his name, where is he, blah blah, and the guy was just wasted, and he's like, I've forgotten, I don't know, can't help you, pretty much. Let's skip ahead here. I'm not sure what's going on in this. I know Xyril continues to flirt, and it continues to go very well. She's obviously like very into him. But they're cool around the fireplace for now. They're chilled. Not sure what's going on here. So let's rewind a bit. So I know at some point Eirril is going to go to Madame Ava, and Dom's character Jafar does come out. I can't remember what Jafar says. He does talk to the Vistani. Dom, you might need to jump in here and like do an annotation or something on the YouTube video. I think he's... Hang on. If we go to the map of Barovia in a moment, I know what he's doing. No, I don't remember. Anyway, so we'll skip over that. So yeah, if anyone knows or remembers, shout. So these two are basically going to head over to Madame Ava. Oh yes, I remember this bit. So these two are going to head over to Madame Ava's tent. They ask Xyril if he wants to come with them, and he's just like, go. Oh, you can't see me. He kind of like waves them on. He's like, go. I'm busy. So these two go to Madame Ava's tent, and I'll read out the little flavor text I read when they went. That's a weird pause. I'm just going to play that. I don't know why I'm laughing. Something's obviously happened, but... Okay. Magic flames cast a reddish glow over the interior of this tent, revealing a low table covered in a black velvet cloth. Glints of light seem to flash from a crystal ball on the table as a hunched figure peers into its depths. As the crone speaks, her voice crackles like dry weeds. At last, you have arrived! Cackling laughter bursts like mad lightning from her withered lips. So I actually thought the characters were going to head straight here, so it's pretty interesting that they hung around the camp for a bit and sort of did various bits and pieces. So yeah, they do come here. I think Dom, funnily, Jafar is quite blunt in this scene, so I'm pretty sure Jafar's basically going to ask for some kind of directions. So I'm pretty sure in a moment here, yeah, here we go. You can see I'm kind of panning over the map. I can't remember what they're asking. I think they're asking where... So I think Ismark told them where the wizard was last sighted. and I've forgotten the name. I might reveal it on the map in a moment. I had a bit of a technical difficulty here, which is why we're kind of just looking at the map. The red blobs are going to vanish. Oops. Yes, Mount Baratok, I think. So you can see I've figured out how to reveal it. So she's basically just pointing out. So there, for reference, if you can see my cursor, they were here. They've stopped off here. And Ismark wants them to get here to Valaki. And they've heard rumours that this wizard is wandering around, I think it's Mount Baratok or just Baratok or whatever. So they're not sure exactly where he is, but Madame Ava has basically said this is where the mountain is, and this is where the lake is. They don't know where anything else is on this map, which is why I haven't revealed all the other locations. Yeah, so I think so Jafar's basically like, tell me where the stuff is. She tells him. And she keeps I mean, the joke's not as funny now, but she keeps saying, like, I knew you were going to say that. And then I'm pretty sure Jafar just turns and walks out. He's just like, cool, my work here is done. Yeah, there you go. You can see him. He's just out of here. So Eirril's character, meanwhile. So again, this surprised me. I didn't expect this. So Eirril asked Madame Ava a few questions, and unfortunately, I've kind of forgotten again. One of the questions he asks, and Dom's helpfully did have it up there, but it's gone. Good notes, by the way, Dom. This is good. You'll need this. So what's his name? Eirril asked about the Order of the Silver Dragon, and Madame Ava, she kind of, she's kind of hesitant at first, but what she does tell him is that they were an order of knights. I have to be careful here not to say anything she didn't say, but I'm pretty sure she just says they were an order of knights who Strahd defeated, and the last place they were sighted, and I couldn't pronounce it at the time either, was a place called Argenvostholt, which is near Valaki. But I don't think she told them where it is. So she just said, yeah, there. And she said the only reason I'm telling you this is because Strahd defeated them. And I can't remember how much she said it, but I mean, she would have said this anyway. So she would have made it clear that she's not, on Eirril's side, and she's not gonna oppose Strahd. She just tells fortunes, basically. So I think Eirril did ask her something else, which I don't remember. And then we do get to the point. Yeah, Dan. By the way, if you remember what else you asked her, feel free to relay it. So anyway, she does get to the point. One thing I did forget to mention is she accurately mentioned something about both of their pasts when they walked in. So, just to build up a picture of who she is. So yeah, I went through the backstories. Okay, here we go. Cool. So these guys actually messed around with the card order, so it got kind of messed up a bit. I don't have my book, but I will try and tell you the fortunes. So basically, Madame Ava, she gets out these 5 cards from. So she's not using a crystal ball. Yeah, she's using a bunch of cards. So yeah. So at this point, these guys moved around the order of the cards because they're in a particular order. I didn't realize they could move them. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to drag up one of them. In fact, tell you what, be right back. I'll get my book where I wrote it down. Okay, I'm back. So, the first card was the Thief. And so she flipped this over, and as she flipped it, she said, she had a voice, but, I'm not going to do the voice now, because this is the director's cut. Or GM's cut, rather. So she says, this card tells of history. Knowledge of the ancient will help you better understand your enemy. And she pulls out the Thief. And when she pulls out the Thief, she reads, what you seek lies at the crossroads of life and death among the buried dead. So Eirril, upon hearing this, was not impressed, because he said, I've already found this. I have the Tome of Strahd. I found it at the thing. So she gets a bit upset, and we move on. I'll just keep this paused, actually, while I read it. So the next card was the Transmuter. And you're actually getting it, way quicker, because when I did this before, it took me ages to find all the cards. So as she flips over the second card, she says, this card tells of a powerful force for good and protection, a holy symbol of great hope. And as she flipped it, she said, "Go to a place of dizzying heights where the stone itself is alive." So, you know, they were like, ooh, interesting. And then the next card was the Abjurer, which is this one. And as she flipped this, she said, "This is a card of power and strength. It tells of a weapon of vengeance, a sword of sunlight." So obviously upon hearing this, Eirril got quite excited because they have just read about, I don't want to ruin it, so I won't say exactly in case I spoil something, but they read about something similar, I know that, in the Tome of Strahd. So when this got flipped over, I will find the Abjurer. It's being difficult. "I see a fallen house guarded by a great stone dragon. Look to the highest peak." So that was that. And then the fourth card was the Mists. So as she flipped this card, she said, "This card sheds light on one who will help you greatly in the battle against darkness." Okay. And when she flipped over this card, she read, "A Vistani wanders this land alone, searching for her mentor. She does not stay in one place for long. Seek her out at St. Markovia's Abbey near the Mists." So I'm pretty sure this is a location that the players don't know yet. So Eirril obviously, you know, didn't know where this person would be. And finally, the fifth card was obviously the only one left, the Donjon. Where is it? Here, the Donjon. And as she flipped this, she read, "Your enemy is a creature of darkness whose powers are beyond mortality. This card will lead you to him." And I don't remember the reaction to this, but basically as she flipped it, she read, "He lurks in a hall of bones in the dark pits of his castle." Cool. So if I continue this, so this was the fortune telling. So you can see it took me a bit of time. And yeah, you can see, Dom, good job writing it down. I don't know why the players can control this. That was an oversight on my part. I can't remember what happens next. Dan says something. I'm pretty... this was actually like quite a cool line. I don't quite remember it. So Dan, I need you to fill in the missing gap here. Him and Madame Ava kind of have a bit of a disagreement. And she's not happy with him. And she basically says to him, like, "I think it's time for you to leave my tent." And as Dan is walking out, he turns and he says something. I've completely forgotten, but it was quite cool. I enjoyed it, so. Cool, alright, so now we're getting into a bit of shaky territory. I don't remember exactly what happens here. So I'm pretty sure that all of these... No, I remember. Yeah, I remember. So, so Jafar, I might be remembering the order slightly wrong here, but Jafar basically tries to get Irina to come with him into the tent. And the way he tries to convince her is he says, "We need backup." And he manages to convince her at first, and she goes up to the tent with him. But when they actually get to the tent, she's not impressed, and she's like, "What, you want my help against an old woman? Don't be ridiculous," basically. And she goes and sits back down. So that happened, and then I can't remember why they are linking up here. Yeah, I'm not sure, unfortunately. And then Eirril comes and joins them. Eirril obviously relays what happened. I remember. So I'm pretty sure Jafar has come up with a plan which basically involves stealing some of these horses and legging it. I can't remember why he wants to leg it. Maybe he doesn't trust the Vistani. I don't remember. But in any case, Ismark at first is like, "No way." He's like, "This is a terrible idea. We're in a camp filled with them." No. But Jafar manages to talk him into it, so he's very, he sort of discusses it with him for a bit. He's very persuasive. He gets Ismark on his side. Irina is also on board with it. I think at this point Jafar also clarifies with Ismark. He says, "Can we trust these people?" And Ismark says, "I wouldn't say trust." He basically says, like, "I expect them not to harm us, but they still serve the Devil's Strahd, so we can't, we still have to be careful." Jafar's unimpressed by this, from what I remember. He's like, not cool. Maybe that's why he wanted to run with the horses. I don't remember exactly. And then at this point, Xyril basically decides to seal the deal with this Vistani lady. And while these guys are talking, he and this lady, friend of his, who did have a name, Alana maybe, Might be something else. I don't think he ever asked her name, actually, to be honest. I don't think maybe she told him, but I'm pretty sure he never asked. So here we go. Cool. So you can see Xyril and Alana. We'll call her the lady, the woman, because I don't know if she said her name. But yeah, so him and the woman go into this tent, and Sunny sets his spider. No, sorry, we found out later it was a raven. Actually, I think we made a mistake with the spider, so we kind of retconned that. But he basically had his raven sitting on top of the tent as a lookout. And this is where things get quite funny from what I remember. So basically these three turn and they realise, because they were planning on like running with the horses like right now, and basically they turn and realise that Xyril's gone and they don't know where he is. So Ismark and Irina, you can kind of see him slightly off screen here. So basically these guys split up. So Ismark and Irina start searching through the tents. There's some tents up here you can't see. And these two are coming down here, or they want to talk to the Vistani or something like that. And one of the Vistani is like super drunk, and he basically says like, come, I've got something to show you. And Eirril basically says like, nah, we're not interested. And from what I remember, the guy gets like a little offended. Oh, sorry, I missed out one big thing as well. So I need to backtrack a bit here. My bad. So when Dan had his disagreement with Madame Ava in the tent, and he came back over to meet the others, what they realised was his teeth had become like super like yellowed and rotten and just looking like horrendous. From their perspective, they don't know why. I think Eirril heard Madame Ava say a word that he couldn't understand, and he didn't think much more of it. I don't know whether they made the connection or not. If not then, they would in the future. So sorry, that was one thing I forgot. So anyway, so yeah, so the Vistani gets like a little upset. And I can't, basically this whole bit here is like a sort of an escalation. The Vistani gets like a bit upset, and they basically, Eirril and Jafar basically say like, we're not, we've got no obligation to, speak to you. We're in a hurry, blah, blah, blah. We're doing something. And the guy gets a bit offended because he's like, we shared our drink with you, and I just want you to sit down and I want to show you something. And I'm pretty sure Jafar gets like super rowdy here. Because I think basically the guy stands up and he says something again, like a language they don't understand, but like nothing happens. And he just turns and sits back down. And when he sits back down, Jafar kind of mutters under his breath, like, yeah, you better fucking sit down, or, something like that. Something aggy. And the guy heard it. So the guy stands back up and he's like, gets in Jafar's face, kind of. Obviously he's like half Jafar's height. But, he's looking up at him and he's like, what'd you say? Like, you got something to say, kind of thing. And Jafar's like, yeah, I do. Basically. So these two are kind of getting like rowdy at each other, and this eventually gets to the point, and I remember this slightly out of order, but the Vistani mutters something again, and the net result for Jafar is basically he has permanent disadvantage to, well, I should say indefinite disadvantage to all charisma rolls. And, how that happened is a mystery. Or maybe not, since, the Vistani keep muttering things. So that happens, and then also at some point in these proceedings, the Vistani basically say, we want you to leave the camp. So you might see them starting to move in a moment. So this is like a whole long like Aggie escalation scene. And okay, you can kind of see that the Vistani have, I don't know if you can tell actually, but the Vistani have kind of moved a bit closer. Irene and Ismark come back over and they're like, yo, what's the deal? Sunny is, having his, or Xyril rather, is having his fun in the tent. And things are about to get pretty bad. So basically what's going on now is the guys are basically saying like, get out of the camp. We want you to leave. And these guys, Jafar and Eirril are like, look, we can't leave without our friend. We need to go get him. So they're like, fine. So these two go to look for Xyril. And they know where he is because they saw him before. So they know he's in this tent. So they go over, and what you may have noticed is that the woman is missing. So I won't say why, but basically these two come in, and they don't see the woman. And Sunny also casts so his raven warns him that they're coming, and he casts invisibility, so he's in the tent like stealthed basically. So they come in and they can't see Xyril and they can't see the woman. And at this point is when the Vistani get super bad, because they're like, where is she? Where is your friend? Where has he taken her? So they come back to these guys and they're super, super rowdy, and they're like, where is she? Where is she? Tell us right now or you're not getting out of here. And Xyril is invisible still, and he's just like listening in. And I think a problem as well, which they mention, is Eirril is super injured. He's got like 3 health, out of character. So he's very injured. So they can't. So Jafar is all down to throw down with these guys, but obviously, the party's injured. So I think at this point, basically, they're trying to calm the Vistani down, but the Vistani are not having it because they're like, where is our? And this is, I think this is probably at this point they call her Alana. So they're like, where is she? Where is she? Tell us right now, or we're gonna gut you, and tell us where your friend is. So I think these guys are basically trying to come up with a plan of like what they're gonna do, and Ismark volunteers to stay and talk to the Vistani or hold them off or whatever, and Jafar's basically like, you idiot, that's not helpful at all, and he's like, ignore him. Ismark is like, oh, I'm trying to help. Okay, so I'm pretty sure at this point it's pretty much combat. Yeah, I think they're technically in combat now, but basically what's happening is these guys are trying to get onto the horses, so they're sort of rolling animal handling to try and mount the horses. The horses are very calm. They're these massive draft horses, but they're pretty chill. Oh no, okay, so I think Eirril casts an illusion, and it's sort of like a woman. Oops, I don't know why I did that. It's sort of like a woman screaming or something. So this is why a bunch of them are splitting off. So a bunch of them split off and they come down here, and the others are like still like keeping an eye on these guys. And if I jump ahead here, so at this point they're basically trying to mount the horses. Oh, okay, I've skipped ahead a bit too far. So they're trying to mount the horses. These dudes are not happy. I think at one point, Jafar also lied to them, so you can't see them off screen, but a few of them also went to the left. So Dan made a whole bunch of them go to the right because he made it sound like she was screaming, and because they're so intent on finding her, a whole crowd of them all ran down to the right. I think a couple of them went off to the left, off screen before, because Jafar lied to them and said she's in one of these tents. I saw her, and they believed him, or at least they were willing to go check it out. And then at this point, these two are like mad, and I think this is pretty much combat. And a big guy, a captain, basically comes out of this. Again, it's kind of off screen, but he basically comes out of this wagon here. And pretty much we're in combat now. So what's happening now is Ismark runs back and he says, "Go on without me. I'll hold them off." And Irina's like obviously crying, and she's like, "No, stay. Don't do this." And he's like, "No, go. I'm willing to sacrifice myself if it means the party getting away." But Jafar, again, is having none of this. He's like, "You muppet." And so Jafar comes back, and I'm pretty sure Jafar, like, almost picks him up and throws Ismark over to Eirril with his beastly God of War strength. So, yeah, skip ahead here. So Jafar basically I'm pretty sure he picks up Ismark and, like, throws him over. But he also does say to Ismark, like, "You go. Don't be stupid. It's not, like, why are you doing this? I'll kind of hold them off." So Ismark eventually does relent, and he agrees. He will come over and throw him. And here we go. So he's like on him now. He's about to launch him, and Ismark basically engages this dude like in combat. Not Ismark. Jafar engages this dude in combat. So meanwhile, these two, so Sunny and Eirril, have mounted the horses, and Ismark and Irina have got on with them. Dom starts just like throwing down with this dude, and these guys, in the meantime, I didn't bother moving the horse icons, but basically they are mounted on the horses and they're running off here. And I don't know if we're gonna pan over. It'll come eventually. They're basically just trying to ride out. So Dom just gets like mobbed by these boys. So this dude is like fighting him. Jafar is like pissed off. He's like, blah blah blah. At this point, you can see they're all kind of like moving back. Oh, in fact, yeah, he's getting mobbed. So it's not looking too good. So I think at some point, so Dom basically fights them for a bit. Oh, developer console. Dom basically fights them for a bit, and then eventually he does break off, and he manages to like mount a horse. I can't remember how he does it. I have a feeling maybe he wrestled it partially, but I don't remember. And so the reason he's drawing this line at the moment is because he wants his horse to basically rampage through the tents. And I think what he ends up doing is the horse rampages through this first tent here. And the horse actually like completely destroys it. So like the horse murks the tent, it just gets completely flattened. And then Jafar also, like he's like smashing it as he's riding through. These guys are just riding away. One thing I should reiterate as well is all of the Vistani, apart from these captains who have come out of the wagons, are wasted. So while all of this has been going on, they're completely, battered. So they've had, disadvantage and all that. Okay, cool. So Dom rampages through there. These guys make it. You can see it out to this path. Dom tries to drop basically an improvised Molotov cocktail in between these two tents, but it doesn't really work out, and neither of them get burnt. And I'm pretty sure the Vistani are just cursing them. They're just you this, you that. We're gonna gut you. We're gonna find you. We're gonna kill you. So they're very unhappy. Jafar's very unhappy with them. But eventually, they do make it out. So, so yeah, you can see that Dom probably wrote that, or someone. So these guys make it out, and they come up here to this point, which I'll read out a quick description of it. So they have made it to. It's an area called the Sur. I don't know if they know this, but it's an area called the Sur Falls. So, here we go. You follow the dirt road as it clings to the side of a mountain and ends before an arching bridge of moulding crusted stone that spans a natural chasm. Gargoyles cloaked in black moss perch on the corners of the bridge, their frowns weather-worn. On the mountainous side of the bridge, a waterfall spills into a misty pool nearly 1,000 feet below. The pool feeds a river that meanders into the fog-shrined pines that blanket the valley. So, what these guys basically do is the reason they're pinging this bit is because they're we're going to go into the forest and we're going to basically take a long rest. We're going to set up camp there. I think Ismark, Dom, Jafar, maybe not right now, but he will at some point, so I'll just say now. Jafar is basically going to berate Ismark and say, what the hell did you think you were doing? That was a stupid idea. Don't do that again. And Ismark's kind of I'm my bad, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I just don't want anything to happen to my sister. He said, I just figured that if I could get Irene to safety, it was worth it. And Dom's just having none of it. So Ismark apologises. Ismark also asks the kind of wider group. He basically says why were they so mad? And then he does ask Xyril what happened to the woman or something like that. And Xyril was just I can't remember what he says, but yeah. Cool. So yeah. So then they basically go into this clearing. They manage to make it there fine. Dom does, or Jafar does have a look along this riverbank. So the thing is that the river is actually 1,000 feet below this sort of point here, so we can't, there's not really much to do there. Okay, so they end up. Oh, and what he does do as well is while he's looking along this riverbank, he looks across to this bit where my cursor is, and I'm pretty sure he just sees through the mist the form of a black carriage, but he can't see anything else. Okay, so the guys rest up. Can't remember what they're doing or what they're talking about, but basically, the gist is they're just chilling. So they sleep all night, and then when they wake up, a ghost appears, and Xyril in Xyril fashion basically just oh yeah, so the ghost appears and it says something you'll be the first to die, or oh no, he says you'll die here without anyone knowing. I had a proper ghost voice, but it's hard to do. But basically along those lines. So the ghost kind of threatens them. Xyril kind of laughs and makes fun of it. And then the ghost is right, I'm coming for you, boy. You're dead first. So we enter combat. There's a bunch of combat. The ghost, I'm pretty sure he drops half of Sunny's health in one hit. He does a bunch of necrotic damage to Sunny, which is pretty sad considering he just woke up, so does not feel great. But they do manage to deal with the ghost. And we'll see it vanish in a moment here. Or not, maybe I just didn't delete it. But I bet, the ghost is dead. I promise you the ghost is dead. So the ghost is vanquished. Everybody else is okay. I don't think anybody else took any damage. Sunny's not happy because he's just been dropped to half his health immediately after waking up. Ismark is keen to get to Valaki. He's look boys, we've got to get to Valaki. Since they stole the horses, they're not pictured on this map, but they do have them nearby. They've obviously shortened their travel time, so I think it's only a couple of hours now to Valaki. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the GM cut. So obviously I missed out a fair bit. There's a lot of stuff I couldn't remember exactly. So hopefully somebody can fill in the gaps, or if you're watching this and you want to know right away, you can post it in the group. And we'll see what's going on. But yeah, I will stop recording here.